All right, welcome back everyone to Block Party number 22, where we are kicking off the segment A World Beyond Money with our Bret Minster full of it. Bret, take it away.
All right, thanks again. So Marina is here with me. She's one of my co-conspirators, and Ron is here. He's one of our co-conspirators in the early group of people that have been ideating around this. So we kicked this off last week, and we did this kind of process where I showed a video and I shared some information with people, and then we did this 20-minute creative exercise. I was debating whether to do that again and how to approach the fact that some people on the call this week were not on the call last week, but some of the people were, and would it be boring if we just did the same thing again? So I'm a little bit in improvisation mode. Of course, we have the default ability to have a discussion at minimum, so we're gonna start there, and then we'll kind of feel into if some people want to go through this other creative process, which we took 20 minutes to basically go into our own spaces and do some creativity based on different skills and passions we have, whether you like to draw or write or create graphics. So it went quite well, actually, and it was quite a lot of fun. So maybe some version of that, hopefully we'll even try again today. I just wasn't sure. Jamin, what is your sense in terms of, some of us already did it last week? I obviously don't want to go, it's hard to go through that whole thing again when some of you have already seen it, but then there's quite a few people here that didn't see it. Do you have any opinion? Or?
Yeah, my feeling is I loved it so much, I wouldn't mind doing it again. And also, and especially considering we've got a bunch of new folks here. And it was just such a, with the music and everything, I mean, there was something about it, like suddenly I was, given permission to create and sit down and just focus on that, which I hadn't given myself permission to do like that, frankly, in a while. I was always working. So anyway, I think it's the coolest thing. So that's my vote.
Okay, you know what? I think we'll go for it because I would like to share some of the information again anyway, like just to set the context. And then for a few of you that were here, you can kind of check out or go get a cup of coffee or tea during the video segment if you've already seen that video, and do something else, I guess, for that 7 minutes. But the video is a cool part of the process. So if I'm going to go through it, I'm just going to play that again.
And Bret, is it something that's a link to like a YouTube video, or is it something on your hard drive? Because if it's the former, I can play it here with better bandwidth, as you wish.
Yeah, I mean, it is on YouTube. I'll find well, maybe we'll try this screen share. I've got it embedded in my slides. I guess usually the bandwidth isn't always great. We'll see what happens.
And the last thing we heard you say was, "We'll see what happens," and then, so I think we saw what happened.
Yeah, that's the beginning of what happened.
Exactly. All right, Bret, you are frozen, and I don't even know.
Yeah, I guess you will come back.
All right.
Bret, yeah, you were frozen, and we couldn't hear you for like half a minute. Just so you know.
Oh, am I back now?
You're back now. You're back now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, hopefully it goes okay. Just shout out. Somebody shout out if it's not working right, because I'm trying to minimize my screen of who I can see while I have my slides open. So it's hard to see sometimes.
No problem.
All right. So here we go. Yes. All right. Well, everyone, again, thank you for joining. I've got Marina here as a co-pilot for as long as she's able to be on. She's in a later part of the world, so we don't know how long she's going to be staying awake. And Ron is also on the call, who's done some creativity with us on this project. And of course, there are a few people here that was with us last week. So what are we looking at? We're looking at something called A World Beyond Money. And it's an alternate reality game. And what we're doing is taking part in something that I've just coined as a co-create-a-thon rather than a hackathon. And I'll explain these couple terms here very quickly as we go, so you have some context. And basically for the next hour and a half or so, we're gonna have some conversation. We're gonna try this 20-minute creative exercise again that I was just talking to Jamin about. And we're just gonna get right into it. So first of all, this is an experiment. As the block party goes, and a lot of us go, we're in experiment mode. These co-create-a-thons and this World Beyond Money project is a new thing. In general, it's a new way for me and Marina to learn how to facilitate things. It's not our forte, so to say, to facilitate co-creative exercises and all that. So we're learning on the fly. So just asking everyone to please be patient and curious and generous and bring some creativity to the space while we're here together. And the reason I call it a co-create-a-thon is because it's never ending. So we kind of officially kicked it off a couple weeks ago with a little Sunday night, me and Marina hosting one of these experiments, and then last week with the Radish crew. And basically it's just an iterative process. It's, you know, spiral, timeless, co-creative, emergent, novel. So we're not gonna stop. Whatever, it'll look different a year from now and 10 years from now, but the planetary co-create-a-thon, as far as I'm concerned, is on like Donkey Kong. And that's what we're all doing together. We're co-creating new stories, new sectors, new solutions in every walk of life. So for me, it's all about a co-create-a-thon. We have an intention to officially launch this alternate reality game, hopefully by the end of December this year. And we're gonna potentially try to create a Burning Man camp for it as a next step, which is a couple months from now. And we're also working currently on a proposal. So kind of like a, you know, 3-page proposal, so people have an idea of what it's about, and maybe even to find some people that want to support it in different ways. So we have some resources and team members that are kind of full-time, because it's going to take that kind of effort on some level to really get it off the ground. All right, so we're going to jump right in first and do like a little bit free association and a warm-up exercise. So before I tell you anything else about what alternate reality games are or what this project has a mission for, we're just going to go in a circle and we're going to ask everybody, what does a world beyond money mean to you? And I'm just going to ask everybody, I'm going to stop my screen share. Oh, sorry. I hid my floating panel in Zoom, and now I've got to go find it to stop my screen share. All right, there I am. So yeah, we're asking everybody to do like, you know, 60 seconds or less. Even a few sentences is better, just because there's a bunch of us on the call. We want to kind of just fly through and have a good time. So what does a world beyond money mean to you? Does anybody want to raise their hand or jump in? And you don't have to say anything as per the Radish principles. We can, no one is forced to do anything. We can always just move on to the next.
I'll go. Freedom.
Jamin, right? Your name?
At your service, Jamin. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So what is world beyond money for you?
Okay, this will be definitely capped at 60 seconds, but it's kind of like a little story rather than a sentence. So, you know, like when it's a Saturday, it's a sunny day outside, but you're stuck in some all-day Monopoly game, right? And by the time you walk out of there, you feel brain damaged. It's late afternoon. You've missed the sun, but you know what? You're coming back to life. So a world without money for me means coming back to life out of this, after this sick, omnicidal, brain damaging, life destroying, make you want to vomit all day freaking Monopoly game. It's been in all 10,000 years. Anyway, I'm going to stop soliloquizing and thank you.
I
Beautiful,
love it.
thank you. That's awesome.
Great metaphor. Anyone, you can jump in if you like, or raise a hand. We'll call on you, and I'll fill the space and share my perspective until then, perhaps, if nobody wants to. No one. Okay, Ron, go ahead, man. You're on mute. You're on mute, Ron.
It took me a second to get to the button. In a world beyond money, to me, would be kind of like an environment of collegial ferment, and in which everyone can choose to do what benefits us personally and collectively, and in some, I mean, it would be like a living system of mutual learning, maybe. There you go.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
It would, there wouldn't be any billionaires who just wouldn't exist, which would be really good.
Oh, that was it was a little bit hard to hear you, but we'll.
Yeah, maybe.
I said there wouldn't be any billionaires, and that would be really good.
Right on. Anyone else?
Or maybe, Sor, we didn't hear you well. If you want, you can write it down in a chat. What did you say? Or, I mean, at least I didn't hear.
She said in a world beyond money, there would be no billionaires, and that would be a good thing.
Ah, okay, I see. And someone, Dave, I guess, respond that living on only what you really need for your basic needs. I mean, in the chat.
And we've got a couple of hands up. James had raised his hand, followed by Marco. Go for it, James.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I suppose it's similar to yourself. To me, a world without beyond money would be, for me, I would feel healed, and it would be like living in a healed planet, because without the money, we would have had to have solved the majority of our problems, and which are all the root cause of all of them are money anyway. So it would, to me, would mean a healed planet.
Then who's Mark next? Right? Marco, yeah.
Hi. To me, a world without money would be a world where we're all free to be our best selves.
That's beautiful. And someone also wrote in the chat, world beyond money for me would be living without any kind of division, social status, race, religion, country, etc. It was Roshila Maria Delape.
Is there anybody else who'd like to chime in? How about you, Marina? World beyond money, what's it mean to you?
I would actually agree with few points here, and people mentioned that, like freedom, and that's also what Jamin, I'm sorry if I pronounce wrong the name, that's kind of what I felt when you create this beautiful metaphor between monopoly and then that you come and you're like, oh my God, it's like I'm free to do whatever I want now, and all of this, right? And as Marco told, that it's really like now living towards your potential and create whatever like your soul wants to create. So it's all kind of correlated around the freedom, and the same as Roshila mentioned here, world beyond any division, which is also kind of for me like freedoms, that there is no division between or fragmentation of people. So yeah, I would say the freedom of using your potential without any limits. That's world beyond money for me.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? I'll give another few seconds to see if anyone else would like to share. And Jamin?
We've got some stuff written in the chat. Marina, you're doing a great job reading that. If you'd like to carry on with that, or I can help.
Yeah, I see Dev wrote something, and whatever extra you're blessed with, you share with people who don't have and need it most. And then Danny wrote freedom, yes. And Dev again make a comment, sharing the resources of the world with everyone, all beings.
Right on. Thank you for pointing that out, Jamin. Thank you for reading that, Marina. Yep, Jamin.
I see there's some more vegan casserole in the kitchen. Can I come back for seconds?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, because I just thought of a really great, another 60-second mini story from Jamin Shively that really nails it. So when I was a kid, my dad would take us up to Yosemite National Park, and we'd go hiking in the mountains and all that. And there was this one place where we'd hike up to this lake called May Lake, and that was like a base for all kinds of different hikes. But we'd camp out there. Once you get to May Lake, there's no going back to the car. You're there for several days. When we're there on this camping trip, you wake up in the morning, you have an idea to go do something. right? You share the idea, you talk, and okay, great, let's go do it. Now, back in the real world, in a world of money, right? And those of you who've been through the entrepreneurial, cycles will definitely empathize. Oh, let's do this. Great idea. Okay, great. Let's spend the next 2 years trying to raise money. Oh, but before we do that, let's all figure out how we're going to divvy up the pie. Well, I'm smarter than you, therefore and we all end up hating each other after that process, not even wanting to freaking do it anymore. And then we spend the next 2 years trying to raise money, and it's all about money. On the camping trip, there's no money. There's just, what do you want to do? And it's simply a matter of who wants to join you in your idea, or do you join somebody else and somebody else, or do you co-create the day, right? But in any case, you're not constrained by divvying up the pie and money and all this BS. Life becomes an eternal camping trip. Hello? Life on May Lake, eternity. Thank you.
Oh my God, Jamin, you like really told everything what we also with Bret. Actually, we discussed that a lot while we were creating this, and we're totally, because we together like for co-creation, and we like just about creation. And we also were thinking like, why the fuck there is any even competition between startups, or even we see now competition between like social impact space. So the ideas which is creating a new world, which is influence the world, they still compete between each other. And this is a scarcity, the scarcity which we have by creating the money, the tool. I mean, but also like on one side, not on one side, but actually on all sides, I still believe that the money is a tool, and it depends how we use it. And we just see now that we create bullshit system, and we create the system which incentivizes our egocentric behaviors. That's why we see that basically, I read, I guess, research recently just that the capitalism, the system is incentivized to succeed people psychopath. So with very like arrogant behavior, which we see now, who's in the top of the game. That's exactly who's in top of the game. And and this is camping trip, exactly. That's what we want, to realize our potential, having camping trip, co-create with tons of people, amazing projects, and doesn't matter if they're gonna like fail or be nothing or absurd or terrible or impact the whole world. Like just create for the sake of creation. I just add in some stuff.
Awesome. I'm sorry I can't be more. I don't know what happened to the lighting in my room. I realize I'm in the dark here a little bit.
No, we
actually,
see you
yeah.
fine. We see you fine, Bret.
Okay. Cool. Would anyone else like to share what a world beyond money means to them? I'll chime in real quick. If you want to still share, you can just leave a note or a shout out and interrupt me. Thanks, Jamin, for sharing your metaphors. I love them. They're super important. They're super important to put them in a context like that. I mean, I love asking this question right off the bat, because obviously it brings all these different perspectives. It's a nuanced question. It's a nuanced topic. There's many different angles and perspectives when it comes to money and all of the things it touches, whether it's business, capitalism, security, food, all these things. You know, money is an interesting topic in and of itself. I think for me, a world beyond money is May Lake, like you said, Jamin. And it's the only caveat that we would get into for me later on, and as we go through this alternate reality game, and as we see all these different perspectives, is the fun part of like, how could that be even possible? Like, why won't people need to earn a living? Like, how will the roads and sanitation be taken care of? Like, who's going to make the food? Who's going to do the electricity? Like, all of those questions often come up for people, or it's not possible in a greedy world. So all of those kind of questions are really what I find quite exciting. But a world beyond money, simply for me, is it has a lot to do with freedom, creativity, peace, and a heck of a lot of mystery and adventure. You know, being freed from all of the things that money generally yokes us to, as you're kind of alluding to, Jamin, and other people. That liberation ripples across so many things, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, that I believe a world beyond money is mostly novel and something that is hard to even imagine other than this feeling and sense of relief and excitement and rebirth. Like you said, Jamin, that was beautiful. It feels like a rebirth. And even talking about it is important, which is why the alternate reality game is important. It's important to simulate this thing and have this conversation and say it, to co-create it. You know, we're going to play this game in order to co-create it. Alternate reality games have a lot to do with simulation. And I think for this exercise in this game we're going to do in the next year or so, it's even a little bit more than just the simulation, which is what we're going to get into, because there's so many solutions out there that already can make this possible. So I'm excited about all those things. I'm also going to divert for a second. I want to take a quick sort of another round, so to say, of maybe everyone not taking too much time, just so we can hear from everybody. I've heard this point a lot, you know, that money inherently is neutral. And it's not the money, it's how we use it and the system it's embedded in. And that money is a great energy, you know, it's just being abused and all that. So I want to open up this space. I want to open up the space to have a quick go around about what's your take on that, on this perspective. And I'll just model it and take it off. I'll just lead by just modeling that. You know, I took a course with some people where we're supposed to kind of channel the voice of money. You know, it was called the consciousness of money. And a lot of people were channeling that money is good and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what money told me? Money told me it has the consciousness of a rock, which means like it's very minimal consciousness, money. That's what money actually told me. And everyone had the right to have money speak to them in whatever way they want. There was no right or wrong, you know, for what money is. I obviously was in the minority because I wasn't painting for me some woo-woo new paradigm like picture of money just to, for me, rationalize it personally. I do think if we spent money differently, we can actually resolve about 80% of the world's problems, just how we spend it. But the last 20% is what I'm more interested in. And I personally think money is inherently tied to capitalism and antiquated systems, and it's not neutral, and it's not just something like that. I mean, I could be more elegant about it, but I actually personally don't think money is just neutral, inherently neutral, and it's all good, and it's just we need to all be different about it. Because for me, it's tied to capitalism, it's tied to a mindset, it's tied to a psychology, it's tied to, as Jamin said, 10,000 years of patterns. So I'm not so sure it can exist in a vacuum. Like I can pick up this notebook and say this notebook is inherently neutral. I'm not sure I feel that way about money. So I'm curious what other people think. And please speak your mind and speak your truth, because I can empathize and understand other people having a different perspective. This is just my perspective. So I'm not saying whatever perspective you have is in any way wrong. Like everyone has a good perspective.
Bret,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a thought. Right. You know that postcard you can get, and it's got a picture of an apple on it, and it says "Ceci n'est pas une pomme." Is it un pomme or une pomme? So this is not an apple, it says in French, because it's a picture of an apple. That's what you're supposed to understand from that. It's not an apple, it's a picture of an apple. And I think I'll take that over onto the money thing, and I'll say this isn't wealth, it's a token, but you mistake the token. It's not an exact transfer, but you mistake that token for wealth. That isn't wealth. Wealth is a good word, actually. If we started thinking more in terms of wealth, because wealth would include happiness, well-being, you know, the right size dwelling. I think I'm, you know, there's that saying, love of money is the root of all evil. Some people say money is the root of all evil, but I think I'm coming over to the view that it's just intrinsically wrong. And recently, Guy McPherson, he monetized himself, and he's got several tiers. Like, if you pay the money, you get to see the video first. the recording first. And I just thought, this is horrible. He's creating a class system. You know, he's given very good reasons for doing this, but it strikes me that he's not so poor that he needs to do this at all. And it's kind of all that amazing work he's done, it seemed to suddenly dirty it. I felt very uncomfortable about it.
Thank you. I see Danny's hand up. Danny, did you want to share?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I was under, when I started turning on to energy, I was under the impression, or I'd been kind of like around the club that said that, you know, money's just energy, it's neutral, like everything else it wants to serve. But then just recently, and I can't remember if it was Tillinger, maybe, is that the name? Who actually delved into like the history of the creation of money, and that if money was created with like nefarious intent, like to be used to control and oppress people, then yeah, I mean, it's not so good because it wasn't created for good. That's all.
Thank you. I'm just going to jump in real quick before I have the next person speak. I feel called to just share my perspective a tiny bit, which is, I'm not sure about the history of money. I've seen different arguments. Someone on my team talks about the sacredness of the original priests and priestesses and the merchant priests back in Egypt. I'm not so sure I buy any of those stories, and so to say. And I do have a cosmic, personal, overall cosmic perspective that everything is a neutral prop, so to say. I think you can have that perspective. You can have that conversation. So I'm always talking about money in context, I think, as well, like in a context of the different parts in our kind of human existence compared to like a cosmic, divine, spiritual perspective, which would tell me that, yeah, money is just a prop, and it's an energy like anything else. It's such an interesting conversation. There's so many ways to look at it. Did anyone else want to share about this kind of topic of the energy of money, in itself?
Well, I agree with you there in a sense, because originally money just started out from being a promissory note, really, rather than trying to transfer bulky goods. You just hand over a promissory note, travel to where you were, and get your goods then when you get there. Like, it was a way of saving transport and stuff like that. So basically, it's a promissory note. Therefore, it is only a token, really, at the end of the day. I mean, going back in the day, back in the early 80s, back here in Ireland, there was a recession going on, bad recession at the time as well. And a lot of people, including myself, was on social welfare payments for a while. And that wasn't even a lot of money either. Like, to be honest with you, you were basically, on the breadline, basically, trying to scrimp and scrape. But one of the things that we used to do, because the way they used to pay out the social welfare was by alphabetical, like, there were so many people on the social welfare at the time because of the recession that they would have to do it alphabetically during the week. So, and we say A through F or whatever would get paid on a Monday, and then somebody would get paid on a Tuesday, there'd be another lot get paid on a Wednesday, so on and so forth. And pensioners would get paid on a Thursday or a Friday. And but in a sense, you'd still be scrimping and scraping to live from one end of the week to the next. But with that money, you'd be waiting at the end of the week for that money to come around to get food and pay your bills to keep your roof over your head. So a way of managing it, really, in a sense, for some people was, if I was getting paid on a Monday and my buddy was getting paid on a Friday or a Thursday, whichever, we would basically take out, we say £10 each, and just toss a coin, and one of us would get the £20 then on that week. The following week, he would then hand the other person £20, and the following week, then I would hand, like, I get paid on a Monday, I'd give him £20 on a Monday, he'd get paid on a Friday, he'd give me £20 on a Friday. That way, we always had a few bob at the end of the week or the start of the week, depending on which day you got paid. So the money didn't become anyone's at the end of the day, but it was a way of keeping both of us tipping over at the end of the week when we were desperate for that extra, waiting for our payday. you'll be broke. So it's always the day before or 2 days before payday, you'll be broke, and you might need, you know, certain things in the shop, some message of food or whatever. So it was a way of doing that. Like, nobody actually owned the money then at the end of the day between the two of you, but you were keeping each other afloat from one end of the week to the next. So in a sense, the money wasn't important to us as such, but it was necessary for us to just get food at the end of the week. So to us, it was just a promissory note, like, as well, like, or a bartering implement, I suppose. But we don't have mass on money. When you go through a life like that, when you live on the breadline and everything, well, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I speak for myself anyway. I have no mass on money whatsoever. I quite happy with a content life, you know, and be completely poor, and it doesn't bother me. I don't search for or yearn for riches, because, you know, you're content with your lot, or so to speak. That's not a nice term either. You get to appreciate a lot better when you don't have, and then you see the ugly side of the greed then afterwards, which kind of repulses you, really, I suppose, you know. Or you could go the other way then and go greedy yourself, I suppose. Sorry, I'm going all over the place.
Thanks, James. Anyone else want to pitch in? Jamin?
Thank you. If I'm not hogging the mic. So you know how, like,
Nah.
you know, you're at at some game store or the game section of some big store, and there's all these different games. And some of the games, it's just like it's predetermined how the game is played. Others are more flexible. Just think like a ball. Think all the things you can do with a ball. Think all the things you can do with a deck of cards, right? My grandmother and I would play cards, and it's all laughter and love, and obviously no money or betting or anything like that, all the way to, you know, pistolas de muerte, where people get their head blown off playing a game of cards. So it depends. So that's a more versatile one. I posit that money is one of the former category, where the game is built in to the articles of the game. The game is hoarding. Come on, let's not mince words. The game is hoarding and concentration, and more for me, and less for you. No wonder Bill Gates wasn't interested when I told him this brilliant idea about how we could end hunger. Right? That's not his game. Is kind of the opposite of that. Right? More for me, and then just vanquish everybody else. I want to see everybody else. He didn't say this, by the way, but, you know, I'm taking it to its logical extreme. I want to see everybody else starving, dead. It's like if I play Bret at ping pong. I don't just want to win. I want to kick his butt. Right? Well, in the game of money, kicking butt means everybody else is emaciated and just breathing their last breaths as you basically say, yeah, I won. Right? That's just the nature of the game. Now, imagine we replace, but it also functions as an invisible hand, and that's where some of us are still holding on and saying, yeah, but it regulates the economy, and it optimizes flow of. It doesn't optimize flow of resources. It optimizes flow of resources towards Bill Gates, right? That's what it optimizes for. It doesn't optimize for anything else. It certainly doesn't optimize for the hungry getting fed. Okay, imagine replacing the invisible hand of endless hoarding as the invisible hand of take your booty, take. Okay, and then imagine we replace that invisible hand of endless hoarding and take your booty to a new invisible hand of love, caring, sharing, collective intelligence, and a new ethos, such as, for example, Codes for a Healthy Earth, written by Dr. Shelley Ostroff. Just imagine, we can create a new game. We don't have to regulate the planet based on a game of endless hoarding and vanquishing the oppressed all the way to death. Going on mute.
Thank you, Jamin. Thank you, everyone. I think it's just important. The reason I just went in this direction, because this is just a good conversation. It's an important conversation. It's a conversation most of us can identify with on one level or another. I wouldn't say to even compartmentalize, but this is similar to Black Lives Matter to me, or separation or religion. Like, money is a religion, so to say. Like, money is such a divisive factor and all that. So it's it's a really, it needs to be brought out into the open, is I guess all I'm saying. Like these conversations and sharings, like really have to be had, just like racism and everything else. Which is why there's this course called The Consciousness of Money. And then there's another one my friend just shared with me today from some university. And people are having these kind of conversations all over the place because a lot of us are starting to take different routes and have different feelings and coming together for different solutions. So it's really, which is another thing to have this alternate reality game as well. We want to have these conversations. We want to surface people's feelings, even feelings like I hate money, I hate being poor, whatever. All of those feelings need to come up for healing and resolution, and to turn those into positive solutions and all these things. So it's an interesting and good conversation to have. And it's one of the reasons why I'm interested in this subject anyway. And my own path, of always often struggling with money and funding and the startup wheel, Jamin, that you mentioned.
Bret.
Go ahead, So.
Um, money has been very damaging in relationships. Like people I know, if they've got a husband who's clingy to money, it absolutely, or a wife, or any partner, it absolutely poisons a relationship. I mean, I had a female friend, and I really didn't like the fact that she was tight. It took me a while to realize it, but if you just normally just said, no, I'm paying for the coffee, there was some kind of excitement that came over her. I gradually learned it, and it made me mark boundaries. I had to stop being myself, and I had to stop being generous because she was such a massive taker. So I had to draw this line, and so I couldn't be me because of her greed for money. And when these things come into, that's friendship, and I liked her on many levels, but it was quite poisonous. But if you've got it, say, in your love relationship, it's absolutely disastrous.
Thanks for sharing. I would be remiss if I didn't comment on that also, where I don't want to demonize, or what's the word? Oh, scapegoat people's behaviors for money. So like for me, your friend was not really greedy for money. She has, like, if I bring my spiritual dimension in, she had other greed issues, let's say. Like she had greed in her because of fear and scarcity, maybe, or because she wasn't loved when she was young, whatever those things are. I know, and again, I'm only speaking for me.
I can agree. I can agree with that. But like, I didn't always in those kind of situations feel like being spiritual about it. I didn't really want to be spiritual about it sometimes. I just wanted to be really annoyed about it, and annoyed that my generosity had to be curtailed because she was dysfunctional. Like, yeah, I've got a full understanding that it was her insecurities, and I wasn't very forgiving about it, but I just found a way to deal with it.
Totally. I mean, it brings up my final point, which maybe we'll just do another quick round on. There's a book by a woman named Genevieve Vaughn about gift giving. So I'm really into this in my journey, that my projects we were part of, we sort of tried to pioneer this idea of the gift economy and things like that. And I stopped talking about the gift economy so much as more of a gift paradigm. And this is only one perspective, but in this woman's book, she, from her perspective, is very clear that we've lost the sense of gift giving, and gift giving is for meeting people's needs, like a mother principle. It's a feminine principle, to give because of people's needs and what they need. And she made a very interesting point in her book, which I can never forget at this point, which is people, it's the exchange that is the dis-ease, even bartering and exchange. So even her, she was saying, like, money itself, the real dis-ease is bartering, is the idea of exchange. If I do this, you do that. If I give you this, you do this, or you give me that. And that's where a gift paradigm, or a gift paradigm really comes into play. Or for me, what is the world beyond money? It's a gift paradigm. We only give, we give according to what we can, and we receive according to what we need. So it's a very interesting thing when we get down to the roots, like we've been talking here, like the history of money, and it's a barter, it's a promissory note. Perhaps the real dis-ease is the inability to share, you know,
Yeah.
to feel safe enough to share.
Bret, I was thinking about mutualism, yeah, which is really, you know, it's regarded as a more cooperative model than the one we've got, which is, you know, I'm out for myself, you know, like so the rest of you. Mutualism in cooperative circles is regarded as somewhat more honourable, but it's not really, because as you say, it's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's like and also you create an in crowd and an out crowd. The crowd that do the mutual giving and taking, and there's some poor homeless geezer on the street, you know, like who's not in the crowd, you know, because that person hasn't got anything to give. There was a lovely story, you know, that book and film Alive, where the people were crashed in the aeroplane up in Chile or somewhere like that. There was a guy, they were using the bodies for the meat, and there was one guy there, and he would not help. He said, "No, I don't care if I don't survive. I'm not going to do any of the survival work." And they all had to work on it and think, were they going to give him some of the meat? And they decided in the end they would, because they didn't have the heart to leave him. But then they found this person had a really important function, and that was he made them laugh. And so that making them laugh was an essential part of their survival. But it was also, but also I guess some of the laughter might have been from the fact that they could go, "Oh, look at him, he never does anything." His laziness could I'm probably adding to the story here, but his laziness could have been a form of a way to make them laugh, because they could go, "Oh, look," they can feel better about themselves because they're not the lazy one. Do you see what I mean? So he had a lot of functions, that guy, you know, and I do think sometimes the homeless beggar in the street has that function for a lot of people. I don't mean that person is there to be that function, but it can work that way.
Yeah, true that. Marco's got his hand up. Go ahead, Marco.
Yeah, I found that over the last, probably about 15 years now, I started looking at the problems around the world and tried to find out what was the cause. And when it comes right down to it, every problem we have, if you trace it back to the very beginning of why that problem exists, it's greed. Greed literally is the root of all our problems.
Okay, thanks, Marco. Would anyone else like to have a finishing thought on this subject? Yeah, go ahead, Jamin.
Yeah. So first of all, just to put some music to So's idea, scratch, 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 scratch my booty. Oops. Okay. Well, maybe we'll work on that. But anyway, but now
leave that to Melissa.
Leave that to Melissa. Thank you. she'll appreciate that. Now, here's a radical strategy for how to turn money into a self-limiting and ultimately self-eliminating game. Okay, so consider for a moment the game of musical chairs. I was at this birthday party in Mexico with Melissa in January, and so all the kids are playing musical chairs. Everyone else is seated surrounding the musical chairs oval, right? And it's a self-eliminating game because, you know, you keep just taking the artifacts of the game off. So how would we do that in a world? How do we turn money into musical chairs? I'm just going to give one example, and then that'll be it, and you'll get the whole picture. In Food Healers, we're creating a world without hunger by feeding everyone and making food a basic human right. that takes this giant, grandpa's gigantic, armchair off the table. The one called food. There's another big one called shelter. There's another big one called healthcare. Once you take all the chairs away, what's left? Luxury items, yachts, diamonds, and other forms of stupidity, right? So it's like, hey man, if you want to hang out in the middle of the room fighting over this last remaining chair, go for it. But meanwhile, we're singing and dancing and having all kinds of fun in the not game. Or anyway, you get my point. Thank you.
Right on. I like that. You're the master of the metaphor. Musical chairs. That's brilliant. That's going to stick with me. It's a good visual for a video as well, really.
Yeah,
I want to think about that one.
Just paint dollar signs on the top of each chair, and on the bottom paint, food, shelter, just all these basic human needs. And we just keep taking the chairs away. Food Healers is going to take the biggest chair away of all. Bam.
Right on. I'm looking forward to also in the future discussing the whole luxury thing, because if you think about technology and then you think about the holodeck, right? For Star Trek fans, the holodeck is a virtual reality hologram, the most super immersive thing you can do. Like you go into this big room, and the next thing you know, you're in the Wild West of the 1860s. So you're not even putting glasses on. It's like the most coolest vacation you could possibly have. You can be rich, poor. You can even be fighting wars if you really wanted to. And I think people forget when they think about, well, why won't people be fighting over yachts and diamonds? I mean, my answer personally is because of the holodeck. Because everyone will be able to go on that vacation. Everyone will be able to live out worlds that used to be at the disadvantage of other people. So when Bucky Fuller says, how do we make the world work for 100% of humanity? For me, technology and service to humanity is one of the solutions. And I think of the holodeck, and people say, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, 100 years ago, they thought planes would be impossible. They thought microwaves would be impossible. Cell phones, computers in your pocket. Are you kidding me? If you don't think we're going to have a holodeck, within 20 years or 30, of course we're going to have a holodeck. Of course we're going to have flying cars. Of course we're going to have free energy. That's the nature of evolution. Of science fiction is not fiction, really. It's just futurism. So I'm excited about someday having that platform to really start having those conversations with people when they say, but we can't do this, we can't do that, what are we going to do? No, we're going to have the ability to have and everyone can access that as well. So it's equal opportunity. You don't have to have any status or class to get into the holodeck and have a good time. And when you can do that for me, and then you have all of your needs met, like you're saying, Jamin, it's all feasible. It all makes sense to me anyway. Like I see it in my head, in my heart. Like I see having these solutions. The difference is people paying now. Like people can't afford VR. You can't afford the laptop for VR. You need the goggles for VR, blah, blah, blah. So when this stuff is done with humanitarian purposes, it's a much different story than if it's done for profit. Cool. Anyone else want to chip in on this whole subject?
What about the split? What about the
Hey, so we can't hear you. You need to speak a lot closer to the mic, please.
Okay. What about the split between need and desire? I mean, that's quite an interesting area, isn't it? Could you explore that? Need, desire. I mean, does the greed come into the desire thing? You don't have
Let's go for it.
You don't have to satisfy a desire, do you? You can have that desire, and it could just be there. I mean, in terms of like a sexual thing, say if we put it on a very basic sexual level, I mean, there could be a lot of enormous fun in not satisfying the desire. It might actually be more satisfying than satisfying it, in the real. What do you think?
Well, this is a question of a big part of consciousness and things like that when we get into this realm. I mean, for me, I've been personally working with, first of all, I work with beliefs to be tools. So I don't believe in anything as a full thing, like it's a dogma. I use beliefs to test out like my reality experience. So I've been working with the belief that abundance actually is getting what you need when you need it. And you don't decide, therefore, what you need. the universe and God does, because sometimes you need to have a breakup. Sometimes you need $10 million. Sometimes you need an illness. Sometimes you need a vacation. So it's like actual abundance is getting what you need when you need it, and being grateful for that and living in the present moment with that. Whereas you can want or have any desires you want. Desires are wonderful. They kind of can motivate you. And then the question is, can you be not attached to them? So it's a kind of, for me, a very spiritual, energetic, cosmic thing. Like, I think desires are great if you're not attached to them. But that's like the rub. It's very hard. That's where most of us, we get attached to the things we want, and then we suffer, you know, like kind of Buddhism kind of style. Like, we suffer because we're attached to our desires. That's just my perspective, but it's a great, we talk a lot about the difference between need and want in our project. It's very interesting. Does anyone else have any thoughts on need
Yeah,
compared to
maybe
want?
I will add quickly, and then yeah, booty, take, booty will continue. Yeah, it's very interesting about desire thing, because I feel that many of our desires is actually created by society. So like, we have this unconscious programming, like what we should desire. Like sometimes when people, like as we also talk about luxury like a few minutes ago, like many of people even don't, like would never want it until they saw that someone have it. And it's like, and it's also our natural tendency to kind of, oh, if someone have it, I want it. Maybe I even don't need it, but I really just want it. So this is all, as Bret told, it's really about consciousness and probably very personal things about what people desire and need. But actually, Bret and me, we work on separate projects, but very similar to the visions, because they related to kind of stimulate the right desire to contribute to humanity with alternative economy, which is actually what we talk now all about, money and scarcity and everything. So we were working on alternative economic system which incentivize people to do good. So this is like also the systems, how you can use a system to incentivize people to desire something which is, let's say, contributed to the common good. But it's like just step away from or like actually taking overall the subject. And to add also before the topic about hunger and Bill Gates, I actually think that really all problems we have now, we can solve, like everything. And actually could have been solved many years ago. Why it's not solved? Because it's not beneficiary for people who is in power or who have resources. So like, who give a fuck? Because we know that, like, I don't remember what a percentage of, if we take the small percentage of the most richest people in the world, we already could finish the world hunger and stuff. So, and it's really the question of how many human potential and a capital working on solving all of these problems of society. And like, if we could imagine that, and it's possible to imagine, and it's not just possible to imagine, it's really possible to do, that we really can solve all these resource problems, which will create the abundance of resources, which everyone would have, the food, the shelters, the medical education, because it's just how we use technology and systems to create the abundance for all. And then it's going to be like that everyone finally can realize or do anything with their potential, whatever they want. So that's just some 2 cents on that. You take booty, continue that talk.
Thank you. All right. So welcome back to Booty Talk with Jamin Shively. In today's episode, so I really love what Bret Minster said about, you know, having your needs met, you know, just at any time, whatever you need, whatever, or even want. Let's go so far as want, even with you know, with the holo whatever. But let me just give an example of how, and this gets back to the musical chairs. There was a time that if you wanted to read something, you had to own the thing that you're reading, right? So people would accumulate books and magazines and whatever else. Actually, and one of my ex-Microsoft billionaire friends actually has a private library the size of a warehouse. And it's a source of great pride for him. I mean, any book that he's even remotely interested, he'd buy, and it's all cataloged and everything. It's all very impressive. Well, you know, Bret and I don't have as much money as this dude, but we have the same luxury. Whenever we want a book, we go to the library, and it's right there, right? And so, but if it was the old model, the planet would be totally deforested, and everyone would have to own their own private library. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? The same degree of wealth if you just share it. In fact, his warehouse literally should be a library. I mean, it should be donated to a city I won't mention and just say, bam, you know, here you go. It's open to the public. I mean, that's how ridiculous this is. We're doing the same thing with food. We're doing the same thing with water. We're doing the same thing with medicine. We're doing the same thing with everything. We could be sharing all we've got, even though we haven't got a lot. We could be sharing all we've got together. Thank you.
Together.
Every time you sing, every time you sing, it still reminds me of that Darth Vader video that you shared with me that time, which I should really end every presentation I ever do with a random non sequitur of Jamin's video with his mom in his Darth Vader outfit. Which, see, now everyone is curious, and at some point we're going to watch this video of Jamin singing
I'll get it. I'll get it.
the university.
I'll get it queued up. I'll get it queued up.
I was thinking.
Definitely get it queued up.
I was thinking about abundance, and this is something I always used to think years ago, and I just rethought it. It's like, if I could go into any shop and have whatever I wanted, you know, a perfectly cut jacket and all that. The thing is, I know for me personally, I would suddenly design nothing. So there's something about abundance that makes you not want anything. It's scarcity that makes you want something. And it's quite, I mean, you could unpack that area forever, really.
Great point, so really great point.
Totally. I mean, there's obviously all the statistics show that most billionaires and people of that wealth, physical fiat wealth, are miserable. They all are depressed, lonely, and trying to figure out what to do with the rest of their lives. And basically
they have hoarding disorder. I mean, what could possess somebody to want 15 cars in a garage? It's that they're never going to use. They could just as easily look at them in the showroom. I mean, you can enjoy something, yet you can take it for a test drive. You don't have to own anything, really, do you? You don't have to own a house. You don't have to. You can just pass through all these things. You don't need to. In fact, somebody did a little test on me once, a little journey of life test. You've probably done it. And one of the things is, like, you stop in this forest. Jamin knows this, I think. You stop in this forest, and there's a cup, and so you have to say, what kind of a cup is it, and what do you do? So you each say what you do with that cup and what it is. You visualize it, you know what it is. So, and then it will tell you something about you in relation to wealth. Say what cup you got in the forest.
Yep, interesting. I mean, the whole conversation we're having now about the psychology and emotions and all those two things, it's kind of what we've all been talking about. Is there's only been one definition of success in the modern era, which is highly tied to capitalism and money and competition and the free market. The definition of success is, what do you have? Which makes people want to have 15 cars. It's not because they want to look at them. It's not because they love cars. It's because they've been programmed and taught to feel abundant by how many things they have. So to say, I mean, it's a lot deeper than that, and there's a million things, but that's a massive part of the game mechanism that we're talking about. When we say things are games, they have rules. Like Jamin, like you said, Monopoly, like reality is like a game. It has these rules and it has an objective. And the objective of capitalism and the free market and all this has been to amass wealth. And that is the definition of success. Whereas we're going to change that, basically.
Well, all those, I was thinking about this the other day, all those 60s rock stars, 60s, 70s rock stars. you know, people listen to their, you know, words of wisdom in their songs, whatever their sing-along poetry. But how stupid were those rock stars? What did they all do? They all got themselves a mansion and a big garage full of cars. How unimaginative could anyone possibly be? They were an utter, total bunch of ridiculous capitalists.
So to say, for sure, I'm not going to be so hard on them. It's not easy. That's what they grew up to think was successful. So it's the thing to do. Like, I mean, it is in our neurons, so to say. Like, it's not easy to deprogram or to change the game. This is like neuroplasticity here. This is like some really heavy stuff that we've all been infused with.
Bret, that is so unimaginative. A mansion with too many rooms.
I agree with you. It's totally unimaginative. So is Elon Musk. To me, Elon Musk and Richard Branson are the most unimaginative people on the whole planet. With all the money and influence and impact they have, and the best they can do is create airlines and electric cars and try to escape to Mars. I mean, for me, that's the most unimaginative. I agree with you. It's totally unimaginative. I just know that, you know, I always remember my wife said the smartest thing ever to me, which was because I wrote this thing called Spiritual Philanthropy, and it's one of the reasons I'm into this whole subject. And she said, Bret, stop being angry or expecting Richard Branson or Elon Musk to be a spiritual philanthropist. You're here to be a spiritual philanthropist. You're here to lead the charge. You're here to tell the world and show the world what it means to be a spiritual philanthropist. And those people are here to do whatever they're here to do. But I couldn't agree with you more on one level. It is completely, I can't even fathom that lack of imagination. I mean, we're sitting here in calls with what we have, and we can imagine more in 5 minutes. So I don't understand either. I mean, it's hardly. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's very unimaginative for people that can be creative in so many ways. Otherwise,
I haven't got a spiritual take on this, but
that looks like I'm frozen.
Please forgive me, but I haven't got a spiritual take on this. But I take Al Gore, and he's my hate figure, I have to say, because I feel so betrayed by people like that who, you know, they say the world's coming to an end, the big white waves coming to get you. And what are they doing? They're hoarding gold. They're hoarding gold bars, living in oversized houses. And so I don't find that hatred I feel for him wasteful, because it's like the friction, you know, the pearl in the oyster. It's that friction's good for me because it helps me to hone what I want to say, and it helps me to hone my thoughts. I'd rather like the hate bit, if you don't mind.
Are we still here or?
My Wi-Fi was going in and out. So am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back, Bret. You're fine.
Okay, yeah, I was having trouble. All right, well, I think it's probably a good time to like shift some energy and just shift the conversation a little bit, and maybe
Do you want the music? You want the music video break? It's 3.5 minutes. It might be a good kind of.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Would you like that? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be away from my computer, but listening, because I'll be feeding the crows while it plays. So please enjoy. All right. I'm just going to enable the waiting room momentarily while I do this, just so that. No, I don't need to do that. Okay. All right. Sharing in a moment. Well, actually, first I'm going to pose a riddle. How does the person who is leading the movement, there's one movement in the state of Washington to rid the state of Washington of all criminal drug cartels. And in the state of Washington, it's a rich state, lots of money, lots of drugs. You know, we've got the Beltran-Leyva cartel, we've got the Zetas. I mean, we've got the bloodiest, most violent organizations in the world here, and they kill in the United States just like they kill anywhere else. How does the person who has led the most visible movement to rid the state of Washington of all criminal drug cartels escaped execution? It's a riddle. And here's a video, and more on that after the video. It's a music video. Please enjoy. This is me with my mother, Carolyn, and my sister, Betty. At the university. Huh? What year?
What year?
This was 2017, late 2017. And it's at the University of Washington, in the state of Washington, underneath the statue of George Washington. And you'll see the shadow of the statue over my shoulder, kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi style. So anyway, please enjoy the bleep out of this 3.5-minute video, and just yell if you need if something's not going right technically. Sorry, I just need to do whatever I need to do to have it in the right place. Okay. Sorry, almost there. Okay, here we go. Right, a farewell song to the criminal drug cartels in the state of Washington. This is how we say bye-bye to the violent criminal drug cartels operating in our great state. Criminal drug cartels will cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. Criminal drug cartels. Criminal drug cartels. They drink a whiskey drink. They drink a vodka drink. They drink a lager drink. They drink a cider drink. They sing the songs that remind them of the good times. They sing the songs that remind them of the better times. Oh, drug cartels. Drug cartels. Drug cartels will cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. Criminal drug cartels. Criminal drug cartels. Oh, drug cartels, drug cartels, drug cartels will cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. Criminal drug cartels, criminal drug cartels, criminal drug cartels will cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. Criminal drug cartels. Criminal drug cartels. Criminal you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. We'll cut you down. You won't get up again, so you better get out of town. All right.
So
Well,
I'm
yeah.
excited, Jamin, for you to give the quick download, because the amazing context of that whole thing was there literally was hits out on Jamin because of his work in the cannabis industry and all that. So that wasn't even just a publicity stunt. Like, he's literally getting threatened by cartels with his life, and he goes out there. And then the other question, how did those other people just walk by and not even dance, was the other major question, obviously.
Well, that maps back to our culture. Our culture dictates that you only put your attention on things that are sanctioned by the leaders and winners of the dominant culture, the dominant game of money. So if it's sanctioned by Tesla is sanctioned by Elon Musk, everybody, drools over a Tesla, right? Who's this Darth Vader guy? Where's the brand? Where's the billionaire behind it, right? Where's the successful, hoarder behind the whatever? And so everything else goes into this bucket called crazy or stupid or just random or whatever, right? And that's why all homeless people are stupid, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? These are the losers of society. I'm talking, this is what the dominant paradigm says. The dominant paradigm says somebody's singing, in public, not making money at it, and whatever. It's just, it gets, it goes into the category of random. Now, the thing is, I stuck my ground, and I would say to everyone passing by, where the hell is the daily newspaper of the University of Washington? Why aren't they covering this story? Where's the School of Journalism, right? Where's the communication department? Where are you people? Are you brain dead? Oh, you're all busy with your noses stuffed in textbooks from the 1940s. Well, wake up. The biggest story in the world is brewing right here. We're going to eradicate criminal drug cartels, followed by the eradication of all forms of organized crime, including organized crimes against Mother Earth. But we got to start somewhere. And the easiest domino to knock over is criminal drug cartels. And we can knock them over without firing a single shot. Just legalize, regulate, and do it right. Right? Do what Holland did. Heroin's free in Holland, for free. You can get heroin for free in Holland, literally for free. And it has the lowest heroin addiction rate in the world. Right? It's again, it's how do you play the game? What's the game? If it's a game of scarcity, then everyone wants the heroin, right? If it's a game of abundance, but here's the consequence, and you need to know this, you're going to end up like these other people who line up outside these very sad heroin clinics in Holland for the few remaining, and they're all over 50 or over 40. No, young people won't touch this stuff because they don't want to end up like that. So they've actually made an ongoing public advertisement of the harms caused by heroin addiction. Anyway, I could go on and on. Hit me with more questions if you want, but by making it so public, if they're gonna murder me, they've got to do it under the statue of George Washington, right? and frankly, I mean, the thing is, my dad took on the mafia in California in the 80s and 90s, and they put a hit out. They actually sent a hitman to try to kill my dad, right? That's a story on itself. But the long and the short of it is, the hitman was sent back to the mafia, damaged goods, by my dad with a note, don't try this again, right? So I've got big shoes to fill when organized crime comes to town. So anyway,
that might explain the Darth Vader outfit. Danny, did you have something?
No, I would think I might have to have a conversation with Jamin another time. Thanks, hon.
Right on. Cool. All right. I'll just share a little bit more about what we're up to here, because we'll be back again next week, and we're going to be looking to just help the cause, help the conversation, the conversation. One of our conversations of the conversation will be continuing around these subjects all the time, no matter what. So I'm just going to get my screen share back up. And let's see, this is where we left off. We started with this question of jumping in, talking about what World Beyond Money means to everybody, which has been great. Thank you everyone for sharing. It is a good topic. It's a good topic to bring to surface. It brings a lot of fears, insecurities, and positivity as well. So what we did last week is I'm just gonna actually want to stop my screen share again. I'm gonna try to do it without showing this video, just because there's a few of us. I don't know if some of the people who are listening are even here, so just a few of us that are possibly here listening. What we did last week is we took 20 minutes, we listened to some classical music, and we all went off on our own space to have some creative time based on a prompt about this alternate reality game. So before we did that, we just went in a quick circle and we asked everybody, what do you love to do? What skills do you have, or old experiences that you can apply? If you were going to take 20 minutes and do something creative to answer a question of what's a world beyond money, or if you were going to create a poster for the alternate reality game, or if you were going to pretend to be in the game when it launches in December, you know, people will be creating contents of all different kinds, acting as if we've moved into a world beyond money and the whole planet is in preparations to celebrate the greatest moment in the history of humanity. So that's sort of the context and the setting when this game launches. And people are going to write blog posts and create videos in VR. They'll create TikTok videos, social media, and everyone on the planet is going to be basically simulating and acting as if we're just about to go into the world beyond money. And we're just preparing for celebrations. And it creates this sort of context for people to share a couple different ways. First of all, what got them there? Like, what trials or tribulations or fears did they go through as an individual or as a community, as a team, to be in this place, to be in a world beyond money? And some people might come at it as if, here's what we did to contribute to a world beyond money. We created this platform for co-creation. We created an alternative currency. We fed the world. So people get to act as if they're in this world beyond money and it's a big celebration happening. So there's different ways to create media for that, or content, graphics and prose and poetry. You can pretend you're a reporter. I have this video. I'm not going to show it this time. Maybe I'll show it another time, and I'll leave a link here to a 2007 alternate reality game called World Without Oil, which was a major inspiration for me. And that video kind of shows the kind of content that was created for that game, and how people responded and related to this challenge of a world without oil. I think I'm going to skip that today, but that's the kind of context we're talking about here. And so when we do our 20 minutes of creativity, I was just curious, and last week was wonderful, as I knew this, but it was sort of still unexpected to just hear everyone talk about what they actually love to do creatively. What would they do for 20 minutes? So for me, during the 20 minutes, I'm a word person, so I like to write short things. I like memes. I play the guitar a little bit. The first time we did this, I wrote a little bit of a song, like a first verse of a song, and I embarrassingly sung that at the end of that, not last week, 2 weeks ago. So that's what I like to do. Like, those are the kind of things I would do creatively if I had 20 minutes to come up with something and do something. So we'll just go in a quick circle. I'll call on people just to keep it flowing. Jamin, if you had 20 minutes to create some kind of artifact, what do you think you might do?
What I would do is sit down and write with being ready to actually share. So the sharing is the form of delivery of the artifact, but I would take a bunch of notes to get ready for that, and around taking the food chair out of the musical chairs oval, and how that will
Nice.
get the other dominoes to fall. Mm-hmm.
Right on. Let's see, Marco, how about yourself? Is there anything you might like to do if you had 20 minutes to be creative?
Right now, I would love to have my hands in clay on a potter's wheel. I haven't had a chance, opportunity in, 20 years. And, when you were talking,
Wow.
it just came to me, because it's so, I don't know, it's awesome. Once you can get it, and you're molding the clay back and forth and up and down, it's creation, it's just awesome.
Awesome. What part of the world you in?
I'm in Michigan, Port Huron, Michigan, on the St.
Michigan?
Clair, yeah, on the St. Clair River, right where it meets Lake Huron.
Cool. Thank you. Is there anyone else
I,
here that'd like to share what they might like to do creatively?
yeah, I'm gonna go and create a dream. It's almost 11 for me, so I'm gonna leave you guys, and probably my dream
Right
gonna
on.
come something a new artifact for our game. Was awesome to see everyone. Thank you, Jamin, for organizing all of it. I get you down.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Marina.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Everyone loves and hugs. Ciao, ciao.
Loves and hugs, Marina. Thank
Right
you so
on.
much.
Bye. Cool. We'll go real quick. Ron, if you stick around, what would you be up to?
Something that, like you said, Jamin, really a prerequisite for what I like to do. It does involve sharing. And I eventually kind of discovered that there are some things that just can't be done alone. And so I've kind of really been coming from that attitude for a long time. And that's, so, and it's not sharing, it's inter-sharing. So I like to try to do something that catalyzes the inter-sharing.
Cool. Thank you. Let's see. Let's just get to it as a nice break here. We'll just go for like 15 or 20 minutes. We'll put the nice music on. If people don't want to do this, they can go take a break or just listen to the music or think about what maybe look, you can come back and share a couple lines of inspiration. There's no pressure, there's no right or wrong. It's all good. No one has to do anything they don't want to do. So I'm just going to look for my slide that's got the music on here. There we are. All right, we'll come back in about 15 or 20 minutes and we'll do a quick kind of checkout by sharing for those who created something and everyone who's still on the call to check out, what their
And
feelings and
Brett, I just wanted
yep.
to let you know there's no time constraint on the end. The next thing's not till an hour later. So if you need to go overtime, no problem. Just wanted to let you know.
Cool. All right, let's see. We've got a little bit of classical music. It helps the creativity, I think. Let me see if I can. Is the music playing for you, Jamin?
No, it's not. And I think on your screen share, did you click the two check boxes?
I'm just
On
going to go
this,
back and do it. Yeah, I'm going to go
yeah,
back and do it again.
yeah. When you click share screen, look for the two check boxes, lower left
Yeah, I
of
got
the
it.
window. Okay.
All right. If people can read the screen as well, this is also kind of the prompt that you can use
Yeah,
for
it's
inspiration.
pixelated. It's pixelated, but it'll become clear. Just be patient.
Oh, sorry, having my. I don't know why the sound's not playing. Still no sound for you, right?
No sound at all.
Hmm.
Now we can hear it.
All right, we'll go with this.
But don't forget to put the text back on the screen if you can.
All right. Just give everyone a chance to tune back in for a second. It's been about 20 minutes. All right. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who has been listening and thank those of you who took 20 minutes to participate in any way you did. That's amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Same thing as last week. I felt it's nice to be on a Zoom call and not always talking and just listening to music and sharing space with people while we're all just being creative in our own ways is kind of really lovely. And although I was intending it when I first started thinking of doing these exercises, it didn't really hit me that it would be so enjoyable, really. And it's just a different way to hang out. I'm usually just in Zooms talking and conversations and all that. So I've really enjoyed it, even giving my own self some time just to think about the project instead of always talking and networking so much. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out and participating. Is there anyone that feels like they want to share what they were creating? I can go first to start it off, if just to keep the flow going. So it's funny for me because I have my laptop, sharing the screen and playing the music, so I can't use it. Like I would normally use my laptop to create a meme or to write or something like that. So I didn't want to touch it and ruin the music or anything. So I'm left with the good device of Post-it notes or playing my guitar or something else like that. So I basically wrote down 6 things. I'll just read them off. So there's an opportunity to create a Burning Man VR camp. I guess at the end of August. I'm not very familiar with Burning Man, but I have a lot of friends who are, and I have a friend who said he might be able to help out a little bit with some of the technical side of things. So I've had to start thinking with Marina about what that might look like. What would a virtual world be, a camp for World Beyond Money? So I was just thinking of the 6 elements because my friend said he has this template of having 6 sort of rooms in the main room from the VR where people go into different spaces. So first I was just writing down the 6 spaces that I was thinking I might want to have for this. One was a festival VR space where people get to experience like a free festival and just come and hang out and listen to music and do all the things you might do at a festival. One was a room where we're demonstrating food growing in a world beyond money, how we have all these advanced ways to grow awesome, healthy food, and people don't have to really work very hard, and you've got AI and robots and all that stuff. Then we might have the inside of a kind of a new energy device. It would be cool, I thought, in VR for people to walk into this space where they see like the inner workings of like a Tesla tower or something like that. And then a room where people were just sharing solutions of all kinds that were part of the world beyond money. So people are sharing about solar radiation management that people talk about here and food management, all these things. And then one example of a city, a futuristic world beyond money city, and then one like community out somewhere in beautiful nature, what that might look like in a world beyond money. So I was just daydreaming a little bit about those 6 different elements and what that might look like in virtual reality. Is there anyone else who would like to share anything?
I wrote something. Shall I do it? Shall I do it?
Yeah.
Bret? Okay. I was just thinking about hands. So without money, we didn't know what to do with our hands. And I just wrote a list of words. So here's a list. It's opening, fists, clinging, joining, holding, taking, swiping, receiving, passing, grabbing, tugging, snatching, scooping, wiping, slapping, reaching, gesticulating, pointing, fiddling, waving, clapping, feeling, touching, soothing, massaging, fingering, folding, pressing, tickling, teasing, twisting, playing.
Thank you. I was thinking of animation when I was listening to that, like watching a hand go through all the animations would be really cool. Is there anyone else who would like to share anything that they were creating?
I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I got out a sketch pad and I did a little kind of probably more of a child's level drawing of what with the harmonic convergence the sky will look like on the 14th. I don't know if you can see this or not. Is that in focus at all?
Yeah, it's enough. Is it close enough? Like we see, yeah. You got some. Are those UFOs or stars or planet?
Yep,
Like
those are different UFOs that we're hoping to call to the Earth on 3:33 on the 14th.
Cool.
And there's some musical symbols.
Not necessarily. No, there's kind of like swirling gases and clouds.
Oh, I zoomed in on. Yeah, it's not a musical symbol. I'm sorry. It's kind of a square. It's kind of a square with circles at the corners.
Yeah, the square diamond-like things. Those are actually ones I've seen before in the little. I'm kind of trying to simulate that they're radiating lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen those several times over the years.
World Beyond Money, Star Brothers and Sisters.
Yep.
Right on. Thank you. Let's see, Ron or Jamin, either of you?
I can say it's something, and maybe just show a little bit of it. It's not visual though. It's.
You'll have to excuse me in there for a second, Bret, because I just got inundated with visitors, so I kind of had to put a halt to mine. I'm sorry, you'll have to excuse me from this.
Okay, no problem.
Oh.
Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, James, you said, I guess you're leaving. Is that correct? Or in any case, if you're leaving, goodbye. And it's nice talking to you. So I've just been continuing to work on some stuff that I kind of just started when these sessions were being about to begin a couple of weeks ago. So it's, and the idea of it is just to take some samples from chat streams that maybe are sort of pertinent to what we're working towards, which is, I guess, maybe the nexus of it is to portray the week before or leading up to the World Beyond Money. And, but I just needed to work from pretty much the present and see what's brewing now towards that. Or at least that was my hope. So I just sampled some chat stream and just sort of pulled out some of the ideas and fragments of thoughts in a kind of an attempt to get some kind of reading of sort of collective consciousness. So then maybe what could happen is that it could turn into some kind of writing, either just straightforward or maybe with a fictional twist. I don't know for sure. But anyway, so that's what I've been doing. I've just been collecting samples from those conversation streams and editing them as little as possible, but just to try to keep making sense out of them. Now it's over here. When the screen came back on, I lost I was working on the computer. Now where's the, Oops. Oh, here it is. I'm going to try to cut it a little short and just mention a couple of the fragments of thoughts that I picked out of the stream. Even though I had this intention, it was still fairly random. And I think that's useful too, though. One of the things that was mentioned was the idea of regenerative tourism in Chilean Patagonia, where tourists plant trees to offset carbon emissions. And that's affiliated with the Chilean National Tourist Office. The person who was promoting and talking about it somehow got some, they probably got some money from that, the Chilean National Tourist Office. And there was another comment that was simply said, regenerate Romania. And also East Europeans will shift from, quote, normal, unquote. East Europeans will shift towards or from what we now call normal. Was the idea. There's another comment, it's just a personal comment. It said, I am a learner, abstractist, and experimental experientialist. And that experimental experientialist part really resonated with me. So I'm not going to do too much more. I mean, some of them amount to a paragraph or two, and some of them are just one sentence. But these are the things that people are saying. And that's what I wanted to, that's my raw material. I'm not entirely sure what to do with it yet, but it's hopefully the idea is that it will allow me, and in collaboration with everyone, to do something that bends it toward the week before the World Without Money. So I'll find some way to close it out here with, oh, and also all those, I just presented those ideas without attribution. I just threw them in the stew pot. But I didn't keep track of it, but I do have everyone who said that, I have them in a list here, and I could sort it out later if it really was necessary to figure out who said what. But I'm really not that interested in that part. I'd like to just throw them all together and see how it hits me.
Cool.
And the last thing I had was, well, I will mention who this is from. It was from an article by, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Fritjof Capra. And the article is called Community is the Way to Sustain Life. And this is what he was saying actually a couple of years ago in the Ecologist, which is the journal for the post-industrial age. And his comment was, creativity and the constant emergence of novelty are the driving forces of evolution. Creativity and constant emergence of novelty. So I thought that was pretty good. And there's a bunch of other stuff in there, and I hope to somehow weave it together into something.
Awesome. Thank you,
Cool.
Ron. And for those of you just tuning in, we're just finishing out a segment we've been working on, which is a project that I'm heading up called A World Beyond Money, which is an alternate reality game. So we've been having some conversation, exploration, and then we just did a 20-minute creative timeout where we all listen to some classical music, and a few of us just spend some time being creative in our own different ways. So we're just sharing a little bit, a couple more of us, and then we're going to be wrapping up this segment. So if you don't mind hanging in there and just taking it in and chilling out with us, then we'll transition to the next segment. And Jamin, you can add to that if you need to, and then share what you might have been doing.
Yeah, is it my turn to share? Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
yeah. Also, if you want to, just a few people came into the call, so if you want to also just.
Oh, yeah, totally. Welcome everyone who's just arrived, and this is the weekly 24-hour collective intelligence block party, which is also in the process of merging with another network called The Conversation. And basically, this is the first certified compassionate network of conversations that I know of, right? More on compassion later, but anyway, just welcome everyone. And we typically go in 1 hour or 2 hour segments. Our next scheduled segment is a little less than an hour, which will be about sustainability and permaculture by Dr. Solar Tony is how we know him, and so it connected with him and invited him. But anyway, but plenty of time between now and then. And anyway, back to you, Bret. And I do have some thoughts for whenever's good on this last exercise.
Yeah, I think you're the last person that did anything. So why don't you just bring it home, and then we'll do a quick checkout, and just I want to bring that to a close, and then we can meander or not, whatever. But we'll bring this segment to a close with your sharing and everyone being able to say a brief something.
Love it. So I worked kind of on slogans and on a strategy for getting this all implemented. The slogans would be 3 in a row. A world beyond violence, a world beyond money, a world beyond hunger, right? And the first and easiest domino to topple is the hunger one, which we addressed during the Food Healers segment a few hours ago. And the basic idea is simply make food, nutritious food, a basic human right, deliver it to everyone, partly for pandemic reasons, so they don't need to leave their home, but and partly for just logistical reasons. We've come up with the most elegant, most efficient solution, super excited for it. And now bringing it all together is, as we implement that solution, we tell a story of a world beyond hunger and a world beyond money. And yeah, I said a world beyond money, and let them go, oh, but how would that work? Well, you're looking at it, people getting together and feeding everyone. Now nobody needs to buy food anymore. Next question. And what do you mean a world beyond violence? What does that have to do with it? Well, it's, plant-based foods. No animals were killed in the making of this dinner, right? So a world beyond violence, a world beyond money, and a world beyond hunger. Thank you.
Word. Thank you. I should say also, I'll share them. Maybe Jamin, we could have, I don't know if it's possible. I'm not good with websites, but if you want at some point to put on the Radish website, like I don't know, a sub page or something. Basically, last week after everyone, at the end, I had my graphic for World Beyond Money, like this one kind of graphic I have. And I went back and I listened to all the people sharing the section where we all said, what does it mean to you, And I made a bunch of graphics with, a couple of sentences of all the different things people were sharing. It was quite lovely. So I'm going to do that anyway. And I'll just make it anonymous so people aren't, they don't have to be associated to anything particularly. And I share them in the Facebook group and on my own Facebook wall. But maybe at some point we'll find someone to create a page on the website or something where we can just have this kind of scrolling thing of quotes that people have shared about what it means to them, a world without money or something.
Bret, there's,
yeah.
Lauren's already doing that. She's doing it with Miro. And she extracts little pieces, little gems from the conversation, and she puts them and she arranges them with little pictures, and everybody's got editing rights. So you can go in, if you don't like the picture that's next to something that might have been extracted from what you said, you can change that picture, and you can, add stuff to the extraction. So your thing would fit into Lauren's Miro page.
Okay. If someone can remember, just connect me with her or send me the link to whatever she's doing so I know what to do and how to contribute or whatnot.
I think you've got her connection, haven't you, Jamin?
Oh yes, I do. Let me send you an email right now connecting the two of you. I'll be
cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it's been a long, we've hit like probably 2 hours now. It's been a long session. So I feel like always not drawing it out or anything. So I'm just going to say mucho thanks to everybody who listened here together with us and anyone online that was watching. Thank you so much for having this conversation and this exploration and participating in some creativity, which I keep finding so enjoyable. So
Bret.
Thank you, everybody.
Bret, thank you. And thanks to Marina and Ron and everyone for such wonderful sharing and co-creation. I'm so excited. Do you mind if I just gush for a minute or so, Bret?
Yeah, let's just flow in. I've got about another 20 minutes or 15 minutes to hang out. So
Okay. Well, I'll take it. If you want to give it, I'll take it. Because this is so special. And one of the things that's so special about it is that, you see, before, I'm going to say something that seems kind of obvious, but before you can set out on any big mission, you need to have a clear idea of where you're going and, goals and strategy and whatnot. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be complete, but it has to be something, even the beginning, right, of a mission, a pathway, a journey, a strategy, right? And even before that, you have to actually build up a tremendous amount of desire for that thing, right? Or you're not going to even do the journey, right? Because it's going to be, presumably an intense, possibly long journey. What we're doing right now by envisioning it is we're building up desire. We're starting to paint it and we're starting to say, I want that, right? And, it's just like any, creative vision board kind of thing. We're creating, a conversational vision board, right? Buttressed by actual slides, et cetera, and music. And we're building up a desire and also a clarity. We're getting clearer and clearer and clearer. What's it going to look like? Right. And so anyway, I just really want to commend you for architecting this process. How, if it was that well thought out or even better or lesser, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I just commend you for however you came to this process, because it's working and it's so exciting. Thank you.
thanks, Jamin. Yeah, I'm really excited overall. Last week I felt a little bit frustrated and depressed because I got into it's funny, to our conversation 2 hours ago, I got a little bit into the startup mode of why am I always innovating? Why am I a pioneer? I have to try to bootstrap this, and I have to, in the old world with money, or non-funding, because I'm not anti-money, by the way. If some philanthropist, I'm into transitioning. If someone wants to support all of us and give us funds in integrity way, it's helpful, to help people get along or to help people focus or pay their bill, whatever it is. It's all good. Money's not ostracized for me. But I got into the space of why am I always trying to lead something and start it off the ground, and then I need people, I have to inspire people to contribute, and volunteers come and go, and it's what if I could just pay a team to build a website, just normal stuff. And I was like, but I like to create. I'm an ideator, I'm a creative fountain, and I'm more interested in that. I want the thing to happen, we all do. It's kind of my passion at the moment, my little baby thing, and there's a few of those things for me. But I kind of was oh, I don't know, I always have to you have to inspire people, and then I was like, oh, whatever, I just need to get back to what makes me happy, like you're saying. And it makes me happy for us to be envisioning this, and that is the purpose of an alternate reality game, as far as I'm concerned, which I didn't get into. I didn't really share the history of them and what they are. But I'm really a big believer in what you're saying, Jamin. We're starting to build this capacity and this desire, and to name it and put it out there. This is what we're doing. And when I think of World Unity Week and Unify and all of our networks, and for me, when I extrapolate, I'm yeah, a year from now or 6 months from now, if all these conversations are happening and people are talking about a world without hunger, a world without violence, a world beyond money, and all these solutions we have, it's just that momentum, that convergence and making it real, and the whatever the tipping point of people is, or consciousness, to really go to the next step. So thank you, my friend, for just staying in the space of the creativity. That is what is fun for me, and I want to make sure I stay. It's not my job to figure out how it all happens or how to make 100 people volunteer. Whatever will be, and I want to just stay in the space of the imaginal that I actually like so much. So thank you.
Absolutely. And
That was really cool.
yeah. Oh no, go ahead, Danny, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was really cool because you like your process so much. It's anytime you have to skirt away from it, it's I want to go play. So, and that's what makes things happen, is that playfulness. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
And I
thanks,
want
thanks,
to,
thanks, Brett. It was really interesting thinking about money. That conversation we had earlier. It was interesting. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. The closer you speak to the microphone, so the better, but we can hear you.
Okay, I'm here. I'm right up to the screen.
You have the sweetest laugh, so. Well, I wanted to point out that, Bret, you're already recruiting people. Look at all these volunteers that you have working for you in a money-free world. So this is one of those elevator shafts to that, city in the clouds that we're working towards. This is one of them, and we're here. We're neither in the old world nor in the new world. We're in this in between. We're on the elevator ride with you because this is a non-money situation. And when I had plenty of money to like hire people and stuff like that, I did so very much in that old paradigm. And let me tell you, it sucked. And this is so much better. This is so much better. So much better. Because it's without money. It's beyond money, right? Now you have some very practical issues that there are some people who I would love to be here, but their condition is you got to pay me, right? All right. Well, it's somebody's loss, but the thing is, we're creating this community that's self-filtering, and we actually get to design the filter. Hey, we're here for love, compassion, healing, saving, healing, and transforming life on earth is how I like to say it. And everyone can say it however they want to say it. This is the furthest thing from a monolith. It's a network of conversations where everyone is welcome, and they're certified compassion. It basically says it all in 2 words, right? This is a compassionate. Yes, go ahead, Sal.
I think it's time for your picture. You know the one. You know the one, the picture. The gazing people with the little glasses on. You know
Wait.
the picture. They're all in the cinema, gazing up.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay, let me go pull that up. Let me pull that up. It'll take a minute, but I'll do it. Mm-hmm.
I'll just say, let's just open the space. If Deanna, do you want to say, if you're welcome to say hello or anything or inspiration, Alicia, those of us who join, like the floor is kind of open to any inspiration. You can go on a tangent or you can say hello or say nothing. So Deanna, you've unmiked yourself, so you've taken the challenge. So go ahead.
Hello, and thank you, and hi. Yeah, I'm enthralled, and I kind of I'm looking forward to hearing what's coming. A world without hunger and violence and money is just sort of like just would be my idea of how we should be. So I absolutely go with that. Yeah, so thank you for having me along, and yeah, I'm quite shy, so you'll have to just bear with me, but that all sounds brilliant so far. Awesome. Yeah, so I don't know, how should I introduce myself? I'm just a regular person, really. Anything anybody wants to ask?
You're just a regular person. Where are you? Are you in England?
No, I'm in England. So I'm in England, about an hour's drive north of London, and I work as a podiatrist for the health service. That's my day job, but I'm desolate for the loss of connection with nature that people have. I suppose I suppose I define myself a lot by natural connections, and probably always have done. So I love my garden. I'm blessed to live in an environment where I'm quite close to woodland and rivers and such. So yeah, that's sort of like almost very spiritual to me, I suppose. And it's kind of like always been an aim which I've never really got around to try and get people to grow more stuff for themselves, and you know, turn their gardens into herb gardens and vegetable gardens and such. It's just one of those things I've never really got off the ground. So I'm excited to join the conversation there, if that's okay.
I just have to jump in and say, not only is it okay, Dean, am I saying your name right, Dean?
Deanna, Deanna, or
Deanna.
Dean, sure. Other people call me
Deanna.
Dee.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever you like.
Deanna, not only is it okay, we need you here.
Thank you.
This would not be complete without you.
I'm honoured. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think I've said quite enough.
Deanna, what are you growing?
Where to start? Okay, so I'm trying to emulate a forest garden. I haven't got a very, well, it's probably about 70 foot long, I suppose. It's big enough to emulate a forest garden. I've been quite experimental this year, and it's gone a bit nuts. It's kind of quite wild out there, but a lot of fruit. Experimenting with some different root vegetables this year. My vision of sustainable food is really forest gardens, I think. Not only because they're so very productive, and once they're properly established, actually, probably the picking is the hardest bit of it. But also for the resilience from the climate weather changes that we're going to see. So for me, forest gardens is my big thing, and I'm endeavouring to turn the garden bit by bit into a forest garden. I'm also very aware how much we can eat that just grows itself. So kind of like I'm learning more and more about how many plants that just grow that we can eat. I mean, I've got a lot of nettles in the garden, so like they're just a regular veg. The seeds are popping up now, for example, and yeah, dandelions, of course. Year on year, you just find another thing that's growing in the garden that's just arrived, and realise that you can use it for one thing or another. So it's very exciting.
Are there mushrooms growing in there? Mushrooms?
I've tried to get mushrooms started. There's actually a piece of woodland near here which I'm privileged to have access to, and that is the mushroom place. I don't know enough about mushrooms. I'm a bit dubious about what I pick to eat. I tend to stick to the fairly regular ones, but the woodland's probably the best place for mushrooms. I'm constantly trying to get spawns started here. But with varying degrees of success. It's mostly sort of productive trees, shrubs, and herb layers.
Sounds lovely.
I get lost out there. It's lovely. I'm very lucky. And the insect life is awesome. So this year, for example, there's really no lawn left anymore. When I first moved in here, it was pretty much all grass. There's not really any lawn now. I've let the grasses all flower, and it's absolutely incredible how much insect life actually feeds on the grasses. So yeah, every year there's just sort of some new thing to take you into that deeper level of understanding and connection, really, with what's just there. So I think forest gardens for me, there's a lot of agricultural land around here, and it's sort of the soil is absolutely trashed in the agricultural fields. It's quite scary, actually. This year the crops are particularly bad, but I mean the soil is just dust. They're grown on chemicals, and these vast swathes of monocultures which are grown on chemicals. It's absolutely tragic. If we could turn all that into food forests, wow, nobody would need be hungry. So, I'll start with my garden and try and spread the word.
Do you have any fairies out there?
Any fairies? Oh, I don't know. Everybody's got different perceptions of what these things mean to people, I think. What would you say? What would you class as fairies?
I was just kind of kidding around.
There are glowworms in the woods, which is a bit special. I think glowworms would have been classed as fairies once upon a time, but there are no glowworms in the garden. It's quite unusual to get glowworms over here in woodland, I think. But yeah, there are glowworms in the local woods.
That's great.
Which is special. Yeah. So you must come and visit sometime. See the glowworms. Yeah. So yeah. I feel increasingly connected, I suppose, with the environment. It sounds a bit precious, probably.
Well, Deanna, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Denny. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I recently was told that spending time in a forest is really good for your health because of the natural, I guess, microbes or microbial organisms in forest.
Yeah, we had a forest bathing session, Danny. I don't know whether you came to that. It's a Japanese art of forest bathing. So you just lie down in the forest. And my one reservation is, if I was in America, I'd be so terrified of bears, I wouldn't be able to do forest bathing.
There's a Japanese, Shirin-yoki, I think it is, isn't it? Which is forest healing. Definitely. But I think forests really have their sort of like own, they're more than an ecosystem. I think they're an intelligence, really. I think there's an intelligence in established forest land. Which sounds a bit weird, but I think if you sort of visit, I suppose it's a bit weird, really, because I suppose there are different types of forests. There are new planted forests, and then there are much older ones, established ones. I think some of the forests around here are sort of like residual remnants of ancient forests. They've been felled and replanted and such, and really tampered with. But for instance, the one that I go to quite a lot, the glowworms is a residual aspect of ancient forests, and in fact there are some beautiful orchids up there. A surprising variety of life in what is sort of like replanted, sort of fairly dense mixed woodland, mostly pine, but nonetheless very, very diverse in wildlife actually. And I think that's because it was originally ancient woodland, and it's just managed to drag the sort of like residual feel of that along with it into modern times. And these places, they have an intelligence, which is, I mean, it's now known that trees talk to each other and communicate and such, but I think it's like more than that even. Trees have heartbeats, not obviously heart pumping blood as such, but they talk about a tree having a heartbeat. I'm sure everybody's heard of this. Because apparently they've been studied, it's researched and scientifically demonstrated. They could have the equivalent of a heartbeat, whereby sort of like that, it's sort of like inhale, exhale type of thing, but functions like a heartbeat to help pump the water up. Because I think it's pretty much shown that osmotic pressure alone simply wouldn't get water to the top of a tall tree. So they sort of basically have the equivalent of a heartbeat to sort of help. So yeah, I'm besotted with forests.
And week before last, on World Unity Week, who we're closely connected with, there was a group there called Nova Sutras. I'll just type the name into the chat. I'm sure you can find it if you just Google it or Facebook or whatever. But Nova Sutras. I don't know if it's one word or two, but they're in the Santa Cruz mountain area, or just the Santa Cruz area of Northern California. And they have the most amazing presentation and folks sharing exactly along the lines of what you're talking about, of the health benefits, the spiritual benefits of just spending time in the forest. It's really beautiful stuff. And another thing that really blew me away about this group was in their meeting, right? There was just so much peace and, you know, just sharing and calm. I'm just like, whoa, you know, I love this community. And it was just really well run. And so in one of their slides that they shared, they had, I think it's a slide called Creative Agreements or something like that, right? And it's the coolest set of agreements, right? Anyway, Nova Sutras, just wanted to mention that. And I wanted to welcome Michael Gallo, who just showed up in the last few minutes. Michael, great to see you. And Michael is a regular here on the Block Party. He normally does a segment called A New Story for Humanity. And what we're just kind of on the tail end of, Michael, is a segment on a world beyond money. And playing an alternate reality game. Michael, please meet Bret. Bret, meet Michael.
Hey, Bret and I've met before.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
I think I drove his car. Or he borrowed, or you picked us up at the airport or something. In San Francisco, we met somewhere, or we borrowed a car or something. I think.
Remember that. I remember we met maybe more than once. We met on, I think it's called Hawks Hill or something. And
oh, is that, yeah, in Santa
Cruz. Marshall Efforts and the whole Gene Keys crew.
Yeah, right on. Oh, yes, we did meet there. I then was confusing you with Chris Lindstrom, who picked me up at the airport in San Francisco, because you kind of look like you have a similar ponytail. But yes, we did meet there, and always wanting to get back to doing some creativity with your user interface and all of your tech stuff. So I'm going to be sending you something, dude. We're finally going to get to work on an application. I want you to see if you want to be a part of it, dude.
Sure, let me know.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's good to see you.
Likewise. Yeah, so thanks, Jamin. Yeah, normally, you know, Jamin and I sent a couple texts this morning. I told him I didn't really have any topic in mind for today. Just been really busy and kind of just in a really blank state of mind today. Just kind of running through my creative processes on various projects I'm working on. And I thought I'd just pop in and see what the conversation is and just roll with it. You know, I kind of had an impulse to just connect to see what the community's doing and hang out for a while. So that's why I'm here, Jamin. No agenda, no topic.
Awesome. It's like the coolest cafe in the world, but A, you don't have to drive anywhere to get there.
Mm-hmm.
B, you don't have to spend any money, and C, there's no single use anything, right? And you just click on a link and you're here. So I'm so glad you came. Thank you. And I also see Danny's got her hand up. Go for it, Danny.
Hey, so Michael, I'm Danny. Nice to meet you. So where would a layman get an understanding of the kind of work you do?
The kind of work I do?
Yes, sir.
I like that question a lot. Where would a layman get an idea what? Well, I don't think most anyone can really understand what I do. I barely understand what I do sometimes. I'm just about to launch a new website. Did you see my website, michaelgallo.com?
I just went to it with the really bright shirt. Am I on the right page?
michaelgallo.com. I don't know if there's a bright shirt there or not. I just launched this recently. So am I wearing a bright shirt? Yeah, I am. I'm wearing a white shirt, yeah, with the gold cap. So anyways, this is new. I'm not even publicly promoting this yet, so because I'm still making some edits to it and the Patreon page. But you know, what I do is since I was a young boy, is kind of some strange things. You know, I'm kind of this. my interests kind of float around this intersection of where psychology and technology and art meet in this really strange development, and consciousness studies and things like this. So to explain this to a layman, I've done my best job over the last couple months to reforge my personal website to kind of describe, who I am and what I'm really here to do, without any kind of like, there's no real like, there's no niche here. Like I want to design my website, for my name to be pretty much exactly who I am. And if that doesn't make sense to people, then that's just the way it is. But I think that is the way I describe it to most people. I'm kind of, I'm really interested in what's coming next. What's the new world look like? What's the world going to look like in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years from now? That we may not yet have words to describe what that looks like. And I think that's kind of what I'm edging on. I know I'm not the only one. People like Jamin and Bret too are kind of on this edge of pioneering, and probably many of us here, if not all of us here, are on this edge of pioneering into this new frontier we're going into. When I was in my early 20s, I moved to San Francisco in the early 1990s to get involved with the internet, because I had this sense that the internet was going to be not just this cool thing to sell your mugs on and stuff, but it was going to really change our culture, really change our society, and even change our consciousness. And that's why I got involved. I was pioneering the internet that early on because I saw it as a vehicle for the transformation of global consciousness. That's what I'm really about. And so now that the internet's finally arrived in this big way, and we're still doing innovations with it, but I see it mostly as having pretty well landed. And now we have some new branches like blockchain and new economics coming off of it. But I've been really revisiting recently, really going back to evaluating the seeds and roots of what I'm really here to do in this life. And I think even more so than an innovator on the internet, and I haven't completely dropped that, but more so than I'm really realizing that the real leading edge for me, like most of us would probably agree at here, has to do with a real shift in human consciousness. And that's really what's happening anyways. It's not that we need that. I see that's always what's been happening throughout the history of the universe. Consciousness and the forms of consciousness are always evolving. And so I see that that's not only the opportunity for us, but it's also a lot what's holding us back. I think we're kind of like trying to let go of old forms of understanding who we are and what we are, and allowing ourselves to move into something perhaps radically new. And technology and the internet is a big part of that. But I'm beginning to see now that maybe that's not the front face of it. And then so I'm beginning to really go back and look at alternative avenues of consideration around that, in psychology and philosophy, and look at how to push those things forward while also combining them with technology. Now, I've been working with Jamin directly for a couple of years now on the Radish project around collective intelligence, and I feel like that kind of nails it. I mean, I think I'm fully on board with putting that pretty close to the center of what I'm doing right now. I might broaden that a little bit to say that I'm really interested in intelligence in general. And I know the lovely lady who was just sharing, I can't read. Deanna was just speaking a bit about gardening and trees and the intelligences there. That would include that. I think that my perspective is that I think we're on the edge of a really new paradigm of understanding what intelligence in general is, in a similar way that in our more local human modern history, about what 100 years ago or 150 years ago, we human beings began to get a deeper understanding into what electricity is. Electricity was already around. We knew about it for a long, long time. We would see lightning strikes. And so electricity is here in the universe, but it wasn't until just a little while ago that humans were able to use our ingenuity to extract electricity and bend it and make machines around it and do all this incredible stuff that completely reset our society to where we have things like light bulbs and telephones and computers and everything we're doing here. The entire internet and all the technology is based on that fundamental shift of us learning how to work with the universe with this medium called electricity. I think what we're heading into now is that this thing called intelligence is a pervasive medium across all of reality, that intelligence is like a fundamental thing that takes different forms, and it's everywhere. And we're also going to be working, with our explorations into artificial intelligence. I think we'll begin to grapple with really trying to understand, how do we make a new intelligent machine, so to speak, which in itself is just such a mind-blowing conversation in itself to consider, that almost scary. But in us approaching that, I think in some ways it's going to be a little bit of a mirror and a refractor for us to begin really considering the intelligences that are already here, both in nature and in our own human beings as individuals and as a collective. That we already do have a collective intelligence, but how do we enhance that collective intelligence? So I think we're on the edge of just a really radical paradigm, what we might call, I refer to this as diverse intelligences, meaning that there are many different kinds of intelligences, and I think we're on the verge of that. So that's one area I'm really focusing on. That would include also the internet. The internet itself allows us to experiment with harnessing collective human intelligence, and combining that with artificial intelligence and stuff like this. There's these great potentials. And I think that also focusing on human collective intelligence, as Jamin is so focused on particularly, is a meta solution to so many of the problems we're trying to overcome today. That we already have all the knowledge we need and all the resources we need, and we certainly have all the people. We have billions of people on the planet. What are we lacking to create this incredible world that so many of us envision and understand and hope we can have? Why is it taking so long to do this? Is a big question I hold. And I think one answer to that is that we're just not that well organized to do it. We need to reorganize ourselves, and collective intelligence, I think, is a meta solution for that. And to segue back to what perhaps the last conversation was, I think that economics and the economic paradigm is a key element in that. That's my belief, actually, that economics is a key element, not the only one, but a key element for harnessing collective human intelligence, or getting us to behave in new ways that allow us to operate as a more harmonious and singular superorganism, perhaps. How's that for layman's terms?
Dude, did you just say you like basketball, or what was that?
Yeah. Ping pong. I'm all about this ping pong.
That's what's going on upstairs.
One ball at a time, 2 paddles. It's that simple.
Simple questions forthcoming.
Thanks for asking. Thanks for allowing me to rant.
That was cool.
It's like seeing a doppelganger try to explain my project.
Right.
I love it.
There's a lot that's very familiar in here, probably to most of us.
Yeah, totally.
I gotta run. It's late here. I want to just say I look forward to seeing you, crossing paths with you again, Michael. Maybe I'll probably have to just look you up and have a jam sometime. As well.
I'm in Mount Shasta.
Right on.
I'll be here. Probably next week, or at least the week after that. I'm usually here on Fridays.
I got locked down in the UK, so it's just a little bit late for me for my normal schedule now. I try not to be on. It's like almost 10 o'clock, so I try to not stay on so late anymore. Just in general. But yeah. So it's really nice to see you, and definitely love listening to you talk, man. And just want to say thanks to everyone again for hanging out for my segment and for being all the special, amazing people that you are. And keep up the great work, keep the faith, and I'll see you all next week. Much love.
Thank you, Bret.
Dude,
what an awesome day today. What an awesome session. And so excited you're a permanent fixture now. So look forward to next week. All right. Thanks so much, Bret. See you soon.
Bye, Ron. Thank you for coming.
And Michael, Bret now does a segment from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Friday.
Cool.
A World Beyond Money.
I love it.
Oh no, and you know what? It dovetails so nicely with the two prior segments to his, which are Food Healers from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. about feeding everyone plant-based foods, and then the Divine Feminine from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So it's just, you know, and then with you, oh my goodness, it's just an all-star lineup. It's like the Oakland A's in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Just every single batter was really, really good. And so they won the championship. So we're becoming like the Oakland A's. Anyway.
Well, so Bret will be on again next week?
Next week and every week from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And yeah, just super cool stuff.
Yeah.
So
Wait, I'll
wow.
check in with that. Yeah.
All right. Well, in 10 minutes, we will have a special guest also invited by So. And that is a gentleman we call Solar Tony. He's actually an accomplished academic researcher, and he's got a program for us, a presentation for us on permaculture and sustainability. So that'll start in 10 minutes. And how are people feeling? Would a 10-minute break be appreciated? Do people just want to hang out and chat? I could put on some music. I could put on our theme song for the day. How are people feeling?
I'm cool with anything. I'm going to go look at Michael Gow Productions right now and fry my brain.
This is your brain on Michael Gallo. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to play today's theme song once I get it lined up here on the computer. Oh, but So had also asked for this image to be shown. Yeah. Here, let me show that image. Huh? Pardon, So?
The spectator school.
Yeah. Here goes. So here's the image that So had been asking to see. There you have it. This is the vast majority of humanity, all looking at a single objective. Even though the objective might be a vector, it's singular and it's centered around hoarding and accumulation. And we're all looking through these filters that culture, history, etc., the current paradigm, money, the game of hoarding, etc., have imposed on us. Anyway, we have a lot of fun with this picture, right? So.
We have one person in this picture who is an outlier. He's not having any of it. He's looking in a different direction. And there's another person at the back, spot the one without the glasses.
Let's see here. Oh, right there. Yeah, in the upper right. Mm-hmm.
That's that one. I call that one the refusenik.
The refusenik?
Yeah.
Nice. Mm-hmm. All righty. Well, I think it's time for a musical break, and our musical song for the day is one that I think would just be perfect for the food delivery program that we've been cooking up. So let me just go ahead and find it, and then I'll share it. All right, so let me let me pause the recording.